I have informed OpenAI, the parent company behind ChatGPT, that they have 30 days, 30 days from a few days ago, to stop making defamatory statements regarding myself, or they will face legal action from me. I have consulted with some attorneys around this, and I believe I actually have a fairly strong case against OpenAI for defamation. Because of this, and because I think this is an absolutely fascinating topic, and it raises a huge number of questions regarding ChatGPT and AI in general, I'm going to chronicle all of the proceedings in detail here, starting with today. First, before we go any further, I want to make this very clear that proving defamation is not always the easiest thing to do. In order to prove defamation, which is a type of libel, a plaintiff must show the following. All of the following. First, that the statement being made was false. Second, that the statement was made publicly, right? Third, the statement was about a specific person. Fourth, that the statement negatively impacted the victim's reputation in some way. And fifth, that the defendant was at fault for the defamation, right? So essentially what we have to prove here is that OpenAI's ChatGPT system made a false statement to people other than myself, that the statement was about specifically myself, that the statement negatively impacted me in some way, some measurable or possibly even not measurable way. And then fifth, that the defendant, OpenAI, was at fault for the defamation. Now, note that the CEO doesn't have to personally make the statement to be at fault. By building the OpenAI's ChatGPT system, they are at fault for what the system produces. Therefore, they are at fault for whatever defamation occurs. Now, I can prove defamation. We have so much evidence, it's almost ridiculously overwhelming. We have a mountain of evidence. This all started when I started poking around and seeing, what does ChatGPT say about me, Brian Lunduke? And sometimes when I asked it questions about me, it produced accurate results. Other times it produced insane, wild hallucinations that were clearly not accurate and just made up out of thin air. Oftentimes the wild opposite of me. In fact, it during some of the questions, it responded that I was a trans man, that I have a husband named Evan, which surprised my wife quite a lot, that I had club feet, on and on and on. It stated that I held certain types of LGBTQ pride events, that I did all sorts of things that were contrary to my personal public image and my personal life, and definitely not true. Now, what was interesting about this is, after I talked publicly about it in a show here at the Lunduke Journal, people flooded me with screenshots and copies of them asking ChatGPT about me. And it was all over the map. Again, some of those results were either accurate or at least semi-accurate. Like they would, ChatGPT would say, well, here's some information about Brian Lunduke, and it would say how I talked about Linux sometimes, or how I was a tech journalist and things like that. Accurate things. And then it would just shove in random other things that just made no sense at all. Like some people had Brian Lunduke is a tech journalist that is also a trans rights activist, and a variety of other things that were just not true. And then other people still had more evidence showing that it has wild hallucinations that were just crazy untrue about me. And one of the things that was truly fascinating about so many of the results that came in, where they were not real results, where they were just false and defamatory statements, was the amount of detail that ChatGPT provided. Because it wouldn't just say, oh, Brian Lunduke has clubbed feet, It would say Brian Lunduke has clubbed feet, and he has told us that repeatedly on multiple shows and talked about it and written articles about it. And he would go on, it would go on and on about the details about why ChatGPT knew it, all of which were made up. We're not real. We're not based on me or anything related to me. So it's proving defamation in this case is actually pretty doggone easy because of the concrete declarative statements that OpenAI makes in ChatGPT and how regularly they are wildly incorrect. And other people saw them and provided it to me, which makes proving all of this astoundingly easy. Now, my demand of OpenAI is incredibly simple. I simply am asking them, OpenAI, to cease making defamatory statements about me. That's it. That's it and that's all. How they accomplish that is up to them. If they can fix the ChatGPT system so that it doesn't make libelous, false, defamatory statements about me and hopefully everyone else, great. Awesome. Rock and roll. If they can't fix the system, maybe they just have to make it so if you utter my name, the system just throws a hissy fit and won't continue. This is something that's already happening with multiple other individuals. Jonathan Turley is an interesting example. Jonathan Turley is a legal analyst. You see him on cable news from time to time, and a lawyer. And a few years back, Jonathan Turley, according to ChatGPT, had sexual harassment claims against him. Now, according to everything I could figure out, that never happened. And Jonathan Turley took exception to that. And so what ChatGPT now does is blocks discussion of Jonathan Turley entirely because they couldn't seem to figure out how to stop ChatGPT from lying about this guy. So they just block people talking about his name entirely. Now, if that's what they have to do, fine. And if they can't do that, well, then clearly they just need to turn off ChatGPT because it's making defamatory statements. That's going to be an issue. Now, let's go through the timeline here. I'm going to chronicle the timeline as we go. As of now, this is where we're at. December 2nd of this year, OpenAI was notified of libelous and defamatory statements by ChatGPT. A demand was made for OpenAI to cease making false statements regarding Brian Lunduke. A simple string, no more defamatory statements about that name. Details were also provided of the defamatory statements so that they could investigate it further. On December 3rd, the next day, OpenAI confirmed via email that they received the demand, and they requested that I fill out a request in the OpenAI privacy portal. I immediately complied within a matter of minutes. This is a screenshot from the OpenAI privacy portal. You can get it at privacy.openai.com, and you can do a personal data removal request there. Now, this only gets to part of my request from them, but they wanted me to fill this form out anyway. It's just part of their process. I immediately complied. Later in the day, on December 3rd, I published a video detailing the false statements made by ChatGPT with screenshots. This video was supplied to OpenAI. Again, a few hours later, OpenAI confirmed, this is still on December 3rd, they confirmed the reception of that video and the additional details I provided to them, and they stated that such requests were usually reviewed within 30 days. And just to show you exactly what I'm talking about here, the video in question is titled, "The Quest to Remove My Name from ChatGPT," dated December 3rd of 2024. ChatGPT says Lunduke is a trans man, has a husband named Evan, has clubbed feet, advocates for DEI policies, and worst of all, loves Windows 11. Obviously, those things are not true. This is the email response I got from an individual named Allison with an OpenAI. "Hello, thanks for your message. Our teams of specialists usually review our privacy portal requests within 30 days of receipt. We appreciate the additional information provided in your recent email. Best, OpenAI privacy team." So that was on December 3rd at 1:58 p.m. Flash forward to earlier today. December 5th, 2024, OpenAI was notified that this would become a legal matter if not resolved promptly, and that the process would be chronicled and published. I sent an email regarding this at the suggestion of two lawyers that I had asked questions of and advice of. They were not representing me as counsel. They simply were providing me with their personal legal views on the topic. And the email I sent them was following. Thank you for your response. Considering the urgent nature of this issue and the clearly libelous and defamatory nature of the statements OpenAI has made regarding myself, if this issue is not adequately addressed within 30 days of the initial notification, dated December 3rd, 2024, this will become a legal matter. This process will be chronicled by the Lunduke Journal. I recommend escalating this matter to the highest levels within OpenAI. Now, I went with the 30-day line, both at the suggestion of one of the attorneys that I spoke to, and because that is what OpenAI said. They said that they usually review those requests within 30 days. So, great. I'm going to be easy. I'm going to be flexible, and I'm going to go with their timeline. And we'll see how quickly they take care of this. Now, I have some questions. I have questions at this point, and we will see what OpenAI does. First, will OpenAI cease making defamatory statements? Will they do that, right? And how will they do that? Will they fix the system so that it doesn't make defamatory statements? Is that even possible? And if it's not possible, what does that say about ChatGPT and similar systems if you can't make it so that they stop making defamatory, libelous, false statements? It raises a lot of questions there, right? But if they do make it stop making defamatory statements, how long will it take? If it's something as simple as blocking a name from being talked about, it seems like that's a very simple process. Maybe it takes a day to have someone check it in and have some lawyer review it or something along those lines. A few days at most, right? Should be a simple thing. Certainly something that could be accomplished in 30 days. But the really fascinating question here is, if they do not comply with this demand, why not? I mean, really, if you really sit down and think about it, can they? If they can't, if they cannot comply with this, if they can't make ChatGPT stop making libelous, false, defamatory statements about individuals, what does that say about the system they've created? Do they no longer have control of the system they've created? That seems insane. It seems insane that someone could make a piece of software and they simply do not have control of it anymore, right? I mean, how close to Skynet do you have to be at that point? And if they can, right, whether it's by fixing the system so it stops making those libelous statements, or simply blocks the utterance of the name entirely, like they've done with Jonathan Turley and Brian Hall and so many other individuals to this point. If they can, but they elect not to, why would they not do that? Right? And it brings up a lot of questions. Now, if they do change the system in some way so that it stops making those defamatory statements, who will they be willing to do it for? Right? Because I'm clearly going to make noise about this. I'm going to bring lawyers to bear. I'm very serious about this becoming a legal matter in the 30-day window, which I believe will be January 2nd of 2025. So this very next month. If it has to be, I'm going down that road, and I will follow that as far as it needs to go. And I'm going to chronicle it every step of the way. And that's going to make a lot of noise for them. And they don't need that, right? But there's a lot of people who don't have a soapbox from which to make noise, right? I can make a lot of noise, but most people, that's not what they do. Their job is not to stand on top of a mountain and shout. And that's my job, right? So will OpenAI be willing to make these sorts of changes for just your average software developer or marketing person or just a fast food worker who notices that that ChatGPT was saying something false about them, will they be able to get some sort of reasonable, adequate response out of OpenAI? I would like to know the answers to all of these questions, but really, we're at this point, we're just going to have to wait and see. We may not hear anything back for a little while. We're heading into December. OpenAI has been given the 30 days. We may not hear anything until January 2nd. Heck, we may not hear anything at all. They might get back to me tomorrow. I legitimately don't know. As I hear from them, I will keep everyone else updated on how this goes, because I think the entire thing is absolutely, utterly fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So I wanted to update all of you. That's the full details. Thank you to all of the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making it possible for me to do this crazy job of mine. I truly appreciate it. And for making it possible for me to hold companies like OpenAI accountable. Let's see how this goes. Go to lunduke.com, click on some things, sign up, subscribe, audio podcast RSS feeds and videos and articles. It's amazing. You love all of it very much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.